And now, for your listening pleasure, the Practical Guide to Nothing in Particular presents the Sitball episode.
Down in the park, where the grass grows green, there's a new sport on for the unathletic scene. The rules are quite simple. No need to be all fit. You just stay in your chair and swing your leg a bit. Sit ball, where we sprawl and sip in our old lawn chairs. It's a slow motion trip. No jumping, no running, or even breathing hard. Just some smokes and brews, perhaps a nap in the yard.
Good afternoon, I'm Soup Can Booger Taster, and welcome to Town Arena. Today marks the beginning of the end of another underwhelming season of the world's premier recumbent sport, Sitball. The defending champion Parkdale Port Sitters take on the upstart New Liskeard Laggards in the first leg of a winner-take-all Game 13 packed with as much drama as a mostly horizontal game can muster. I'm joined by former league MVP and three-time champ Snoop McRubbins. Snoop, what are the keys to victory for these teams today?
Soup, Parkdale needs to resist their tendency to get too warmed up too soon. They have to get out to a slow start and not work too hard too early. For the Laggards, they just gotta keep doing what they've been doing all playoffs long. Sit back, recline, and remain supine.
We'll get a look at the starting lineups right after this message from the Sausage Shack.
Hey, come on, buddy, and pick up the slack. Just head on down to the Sausage Shack. Sausage Shack, a tasty little snack. Sausage Shack, it might make you yak. Pork on a bun that's done with a knack. Your favorite place is the Sausage Shack. We've got hot mustards and buckets of kraut too, you know.
The spicy kraut is my personal favorite. And now, the starting lineups. For the Parkdale Port Sitters, on padded bench is Lee Harvey Peterson. On recliner, Ben Allen. And on high back rocking chair, Lunch Money Henderson.
Peterson's had a very solid playoff, but they're going to need Lunch Money to be at her very best if they hope to pull off the comeback today.
Brave choice going with the high back rocker too. Starting for New Liskeard are Mingleton Wingle on soft cushion, Cyrus Muldoon on barstool, and, in a bit of a surprise, the Reverend Percy Oakley is subbing in for the injured Sylvester Turkey Lips on Chesterfield.
You'll remember that Turkey Lips went down in the third leg of Game 12 after trying to block a Parkdale volley with his smoking hand and he burned his thumb.
Unfortunately, a season-ending injury for the Saskatchewan regular. Today's officials are Woolly Socks Oinks on the sideline, Cleat Jingly in the video review booth, and on the field on Shays Lounge is referee Gootsy Guster. I'll tell you, there is no love lost between this crowd and Gootsy Guster.
Well, they all remember the quarterfinals a couple of years ago when he controversially disqualified Bruce Peninsula hammock expert Philip Mustache Wax for using an illegally large drink cozy.
A penalty that hadn't been assessed in more than a decade at that point.
Hey, it was a bullshit call then and it's a bullshit call now, Soup.
All right, the team captains are meeting at mid-court for the ceremonial cracker squad and exchange of locally unique baked goods, handshakes all around. We'll pause here and be right back with the action after another word from our sponsors.
Hey, what's up, you jabronis? From now until St. Boose's Day, we got you Jasmine chili dogs on for $1.80 and teriyaki ham hoagies for only $5.75. For the best in New Jersey-style Chinese, rock on down to your nearest Wonton Jovi, and your belly will be living on a prayer.
Wonton Joe, the best place for food. It's only kinda cheap, so it's only kinda good. Wonton Joe, big jabroni Chinese, it won't be too long before you're on your knees in front of the porcelain queen. All thanks to Wonton Jovi. Yes, it's all thanks to Wonton Jovi.
And we're back at Town Arena for the Sitball Championship Final. The game is underway and both teams are settling into their seats. Let's join the action on the field.
Foul on Parkdale. That's 5 big sips each for avid reaching.
That's horseshit, Goodsey, and you knew it. I was half-assing it.
Not from where I was sitting.
Maybe you should sit someplace else.
Keep it up, and you'll be chugging another one, you fucking
Just
tryhard.
gonna have to cut in here, folks. We apologize for any unsavory language you may have just overheard.
Sitball is a game of emotion as much as it is a game in slow motion, Soup.
Right you are, Snoob. Okay, it looks like cooler heads have prevailed on the field, so we're back to the action. An accurate yet powerless forehand from New Liskeard's Cyrus Muldoon from the bar stool is easily turned aside at the baseline by the port sitter's Ben Allen.
Allen has been playing some solid defense from recliner all playoffs long and is a big reason why Parkdale find themselves digging out of a hole in this series. Players playing too hard for their own damn good.
In a game where being lazy is a virtue, it doesn't help to be a keener. Okay, while the teams get reset and their beverages refilled, let's have a look at our in-depth player profile brought to you by Wonton Jovi. Wonton Jovi, when you're craving New Jersey Chinese, there's no better place to be.
Wonton Jovi presents Sitball Player Profiles. Today's profile, Mingleton Wingle.
Mingleton Wingle, he's an unkempt lad. Got stains on the shirt and his hair looks bad. Kicking that ball with a half-ass heave. He's the MVP of this hungover league.
Wingle sits like a boss, no need to stand. Got a smoke in his yap and a brew in his hand. From chair to chair he passes with glee. The beer ain't cheap, but the sunshine is free.
A lovely song and a lovely fellow too. Mingleton's got to be the biggest reason this Saskatchewan team is on the cusp of their first league title. He's had fewer attempts on net, fewer chances at saves, and less of an overall impact on the game's outcome than I've ever seen for this prolonged of a stretch.
He's been at 4 different positions on 4 different seating apparatuses, and he's consistently in the bottom 15%. Surely, we are witnessing an all-time great performance.
It's incredible that anyone can sustain this level of lethargy in so many low-pressure situations.
Simply amazing. Our in-depth player profile was brought to you by Wonton Jovi. Wonton Jovi, when you want jabroni Szechuan, come strap the feed bag on. Alright, it looks like everyone's drink is topped up and their snack troughs refilled, so we're ready to get back to it. One notable change is that Lunch Money Henderson has switched from Pilsner to Drambuie Kombucha.
Maybe this is just her letting her team know that she's finally ready to get down to some serious sloth. What's going on?
Well, it appears that one of the service robotic monkey butlers that the teams use is malfunctioning and spraying gentleman's relish all over the 5th baseline cheerleaders.
Aye, that's a lot of goop.
Is it ever? Well, it looks like it's going to take a little while to get the field and the cheerleading fellas cleaned up, so we'll break here for more sponsor messages and station identification.
Every night when I'm feeling low, I grab my McSwiggins and away I go. It ain't no fancy brew, but that's just fine. It's the kind of beer that gets the job done right. From the East Coast to the West, every Canadian knows it's the best, no doubt. It's not the smoothest drink you'll ever taste, but it's got that kick that you won't wanna waste. No way, McSwiggins, oh McSwiggins, you're the cheapest buzz in the land. No fancy flavors, just a good old ale. McSwiggins, you're my Canadian pal, yeah, oh yeah.
We'll get you back to the Sitball Championship after this brief look at news and weather. The hotly contested campaign for town mayor is nearing its close. The final head-to-head debate will be tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. and will be broadcast on this station. Opponents X and Y disagree vehemently on the number of issues, and this will be their last chance to make their pitches to the community. X says that Y is a little bitch, while Y reiterates that it takes one to know one. It all culminates in next Tuesday's general election. Last time out, a record 7.4% of those eligible cast a ballot, and similar numbers are expected at the polls again this year. In weather, you might want to have an umbrella handy, and some sunscreen, and maybe your long johns on, and probably make sure your volcano insurance is paid up, because we have no idea what's going to happen, but it's best to be prepared. News and weather next, at the bottom of the hour. Now, let's get you back to the game.
We are back at Town Arena for the closing seconds of the first leg of Game 13 of the Sitball Championship Final. I expect the judges are calling a close match so far, but what does your scorecard show, Snoob?
I've got New Liskeard out front by a single point, a square $1.940 to 3.18
And as the clock winds down, that will be the final score. We'll pick up the action again tomorrow afternoon in the second leg, but remember that the start time has been pushed back to 3:45 to make room for the mayoral election debates to be broadcast on this and other frequencies. For Snoop McRubbins and the entire crew, I'm Soup Can Booger Taster. Stay tuned for the post-game show with guest host Jim Shorts coming right up. Thanks for listening.
Any broadcast, retransmission, or some of our related account of this game is strictly prohibited with the express written consent of the Unified Sitball League and the editors of the Practical Guide to Nothing in Particular.
New Liskeard takes the first leg of Game 13. Mingleton Wingle continues his leisurely pace. And have we seen the last pint of stout poured this playoffs? We've got all that, plus highlights, and legendary half quarterback Ronnie Dartsmouth joins us to talk about the early days of Sitball. I'm Jim Shorts, and welcome to the After Sit Shit Talk Show. Sit down and stay a while. Alright, welcome Sitheads. Just flailing into the studio here is Ronnie Dartsmouth, fresh off the sidelines from this afternoon's riveting match. Great game this afternoon, wasn't it, Ron?
Jesus, Jim. How many stairs is it up to this studio?
4, I think. Here, Ronnie, have a seat over here. So, since the Paris Olympics, as you know, we've had a huge growth in new Sitball fans, and a lot of them don't know much of the history of this fine sport. Ronnie, can you tell our listeners how you first got involved in Sitball, and what it was like in the early days before the National Leagues were formed?
Well, I guess when I was growing up, we always used to go over to my uncle's for Thanksgivings and holidays. And I gotta tell you, Jim, that man was a true sportsman.
Oh, yeah?
He was into football, hockey, basketball, the whole works. Sometimes he would even sit and watch sports 14, 15 hours a day and still have the energy to go through a flat of McSwiggins and a whole lot of smokes. My mom even made me play hockey when I was in junior school, but that involved the whole business with going to practices at the arena at 5 a.m. all the time.
Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah, exactly. It ain't civilized. Cold, too. So after I dropped out of 9th grade, I spent a whole few years on the unemployment patrol doing a lot of moseying and wandering. I was kind of itching to get back into some intensive sitting again. My uncle lent me a chair, and I used to go sit out behind the garage and just sort of kick the ball against the wall all day. Then one day, Matt Capel came by. You know Matt.
Oh, yeah, I know Matt. Great beard and a great athlete.
So yeah, like Matt didn't even have a chair when we first started, just a box of beer. But you can kind of use the beer case as a seat, at least for the first 5 cans or so that was really convenient. Well, the next thing you know, the neighbors started coming by, and then someone filmed us for the Woodford Evening Newscast, and the rest is history.
Ah, yes, Sitball is a very inclusive sport. You don't need fancy gear or talent or even a decent ball. In fact, sometimes a soggy, half-deflated ball is actually better because it doesn't roll very far, and it's easier to keep track of, especially after you've had a few beverages.
Yeah, in the first few years I played, they didn't even have the fetching stick. Like if the ball rolled off the range, someone would actually have to break formation and get out of their chair.
Ugh.
Or what more often happened was we had to call somebody's mother out of the line and help get the ball back into the circle. But now, since the sponsors really got on board, we've got both the long and the short sticks available and the motorized snack troughs. It's easy to see how it's becoming Canada's most popular sport. I even hear Humber College is offering a full Sitball scholarship next term.
Well, great news for all the aspiring sitters out there. So who's your favorite to win Leg 2 of the pivotal Game 13 tomorrow afternoon, Ronnie?
Well, I like how New Liskeard are playing, and I think they'll eventually win the championship. But I think Parkdale's going to have a strong bounce-back leg and take the series to the limit. The porch setters have been putting in too many hours on the practice courts recently for it not to pay off. Look for Lee Harvey Peterson to have a particularly slow game.
Alrighty then, thanks for coming out, you big goober. I'm Jim Shorts with the After Sit Shit Talk Show. Tune in tomorrow at 3:45 for the next match live with Soup Can Booger Taster and Stu McRubbins.
Well, there once was a boy and he was quite small, but he ate like a pig and grew big and tall. He couldn't run fast and his aim was shit, but he discovered Sitball and that was it. In a saggy lawn chair sits Ronnie Dart's mouth. He smokes and belches and his belly hangs south. He's the half quarterback of the Sitball League, and he's come out today despite his fatigue. Ronnie Dart's mouth, he's bleary but stout, flailing around while his beer spills out. He finds his groove and connects for a pass, a talented maneuver for this reclined ass. Ronnie Dart's mouth of the Junior A team, gonna sit his way to the championship dream. Got a case of McSwiggins under his seat, a Sitball legend, he just can't be beat. When Ronnie takes the field, the crowd goes wild. He's dragging his chair like a petulant child. When the action starts and the ball's in play, he might just doze off instead, and that's okay.